Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to episode number 128 of Songs of Selah here on 17 Numa Radio. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I'm your host, Scott Thomas Outler, and it is Monday, January the 4th, 2021. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope your January is starting off on an inspired note. It's going to be a fun episode here tonight to kick things off in 2021. Coming up in the next segment, I'll be joined by Red Fox of Alien Buddha Press, who will help set up what's in store tonight on the show, as 4 authors from ABP will be coming on to talk about and read selections from their new books. Jamelia Mosley, Edward Wells II, Shannon Frost Greenstein, and Ada Wofford are all set to appear later this evening. Stay tuned for poetry and stories from Alien Buddha Press coming up in just a bit. And in the meantime, please be sure to subscribe to the channel while you're listening here on 17 Numa Radio. All past episodes of Songs of Selah can be found in the archive at 17numa.com, including from a couple weeks ago when we launched the first half of this 2-part series with Alien Buddha Press. Thank you to everyone who supports the show by spreading the word and sharing episode links with your friends. Your support is always greatly appreciated. I'm excited to kick off 2021, having reached a cool milestone yesterday. My poem of Twists and Turns appeared at the Dissident Voice Sunday Poetry page as my first publication of the year, and it also happened to be my 2000th poem published overall since beginning to submit my writing back in the spring of 2014. Big thank you to Angie Tibbs at Dissident Voice, and to all the editors who have included my work in their magazines, journals, blogs, newspapers, and other venues through the years. It's been a fun ride so far, and I guess there's no reason to jump off at this point. I also had 2 poems appear recently at The Station, a bilingual venue operated by Central University of Tamil Nadu in India. I thought I'd close out this opening segment here tonight by reading one of those pieces. This is Of Hymns and Hums. I'll breathe, if you will, gasp between notes of shadow and shade. Good morning, soft smile, great consequence in the space where anger and love both swallow the tail we've been chasing. 0-point graduation, hallelujah-induced hallucinations, they seeded the skies with prayers of smoke and chimera poisons. Magnetic tongues, wet, spark, electric hymns, messy with the way we hum our promises, but well-tuned to the bed of salvation. All right, that was Of Hymns and Hums, and that'll wrap things up here at the top of the show. Let's go to a music break now and then return on the other side with Red Fox and Alien Buddha Press. Stay tuned.
Mob Crew. Someone's always paying for that banter, baby.
I went to a cobbler to fix a hole in my shoe. He took one look at my face and said, I can fix that hole in you. I beg your pardon, I'm not looking for a cure. I've seen enough of my friends in the depths of the God-sick blues. dropped acid on my tongue, tripped upon the land till enough was enough. I was a little bit lighter and adventure on my sleeve. I was a little drunk and looking for company. So I found myself a sweetheart with the softest of hands. We were unlucky in love, but I'd do it all again. We built ourselves a fire. We built ourselves a fire. You know I am alive. You know I am alive. And you don't know what I've done. And by the rolling river is exactly where I was. There was no snake or cure for unlucky in love. To be lonely is a habit, like smoking or taking drugs. And I've quit them both, but man, was it rough. And now I am tired. It just made me tired. Let's build ourselves a fire. Let's build ourselves a fire.
back to Songs of Selah. If there's anyone interested in appearing as a guest on a future episode of the show, please feel free to contact me via email at 17numa@gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to get you set up for an episode and an interview here at the beginning of 2021. In the past, we've done several of these shows now with Alien Buddha Press, did a 420 special and a Halloween special last year, and now we're into the second installment of these selected readers coming on the show to share some of their new work, and always appreciate working with Red Fox at Alien Buddha Press, poet, novelist, photographer, and editor-in-chief there, who's always putting out a lot of great material. So I want to welcome you back to the show, Red. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Please let us know who you've got lined up for us here tonight and what we should expect.
So yeah, we got four authors of some recent releases from Alien Buddha Press. Ada Wofford, author of I Remember Learning How to Dive. Jamelia Mosley, author of Love, Joy, Tears, Beers, and Poetry. Edward Wells II, author of Beyond. And Shannon Frost Greenstein, author of Pray for Us Sinners. Yeah, just a great lineup tonight. I hope to hear from everybody. And before I go, I just wanted to mention for later, January 12th, 8 days from now is the deadline for They're Conspiring Against the Alien Buddha, an anthology of poetry and fiction with the theme being conspiracy theories. And the work you submit can be anti-conspiracy theory or it can be pro-conspiracy theory. We're kind of looking for a blend. What I'm really looking for right now is some absurdist fiction to put in there. If you've ever seen the movie Under the Silver Lake, that's a great example of what we're looking for to finish this one up. But yeah, just abuddhapress@yahoo.com is the email to submit your conspiracy theory themed work to, and that book should be out shortly after, probably by the 14th or 15th. That book should be available to pick up on Amazon.
Very cool. Looking forward to that one, and Happy New Year, I meant to say at the beginning, and also congratulations to you and your wife on the recent anniversary.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Yeah, 4 years yesterday. We went out, we got some tattoos, and I was just telling her I'm itching for another one now that I did that. I'm thinking of getting the alien Buddha on my forearm on that one blank spot I have there now.
Right on. the final
yeah,
act.
I don't want to hold you up. yeah. All right, cool. Well, yeah, we got some great readers tonight. I don't want to hold you up too much longer. I think Ada Wofford's going to start off from I Remember Learning How to Dive. I think that's a Radiohead reference. But, yeah, it'll be a great show. Thanks for having me on again, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. Always enjoy these, Red. Talk to you next time.
All right, thanks, man. Have a good one.
You too, man. All right, so coming up as our first guest here tonight, Ada Wofford holds a BA in English, an MA in Library and Information Studies, and is currently pursuing their MA in English at the University of Rochester. They are the nonfiction editor at Stirring, a literary collection, the senior editor at the Menacin Project, and a former contributing editor at the Blue Nib. They've been published in Autostraddle, McSweeney's Internet Tendency, Literary Heist, Sundress Reads, and more. They are also the founding editor of My Little Underground, a music review blog written exclusively by musicians. Their first chapbook, I Remember Learning How to Dive, was published in 2020 by Alien Buddha Press. They are also a 2021 Pushcart Prize nominee. Thanks so much for joining the program here tonight, Ada. Happy New Year, and how are you doing?
Yeah, Happy New Year. Thanks for having me. I'm doing good.
Absolutely. All right. Glad to hear it. So, your new book released recently through Alien Buddha Press. You want to tell us a little bit about what went into the collection, how long have you been working on it, and what does it feel like to have it out there in the world now?
Yeah, so it's kind of different, I guess, for a chapbook. It's a narrative poem, so it's not a collection. It tells one story. And the poems don't have names. They have timestamps instead, and it's not chronologically in order because, it's part of it's very much about fragmentation, both of beliefs and maybe even morality and selfhood. And so it was important to have that kind of fragmentation in it. It's not a Radiohead reference, actually. It's a Animal Collective reference. They did a EP with Vashti Bunyan, who's a 60s folk singer, and that was like the catalyst of her comeback in the early 2000s. They did an EP with her, and they had a song, Could I Remember Learning How to Dive, which is a pretty literal song. It doesn't have any of the stuff that I took out of it, the metaphor about, sort of diving into like a new situation or a new set of beliefs or something. But the song was really arrested me and inspired this book. And there's also so this chapbook of poetry is very much from Flara's point of view, even though it goes from third person to first person, back and forth. And then there's a play that tells the same story essentially, but obviously from an outsider's perspective, where you get more details.
So obviously music plays a big part in your creativity. Can you talk a little bit about the blog that you run there with reviews?
Yeah, My Little Underground, I started it September of 2019, and we have 4 contributors now, me and then 4 other people, and everyone's a musician who has, gigged and recorded. So like the whole idea is basically to be the opposite of Pitchfork, because Pitchfork, it's like a bunch of journalists who kind of don't get it, and they're criticizing things I feel like they don't understand. If you're into the band Idols, their review of Ultramono, it was they gave it a 5.5. First of all, I don't think you should grade art, but beyond that, they didn't talk about the music. They just kind of ran on like a political tirade about the lyrics, and it's one of the best guitar albums I heard in a long time. The 2 guitar players have a YouTube show called Genks, a word they made up because they're really interested in noises. And they go through how they make all these really interesting noises with their guitars. So, My Little Underground's focused on like that, like the musicianship of it.
Very cool. Just swing by there and check out what you're doing. And would you like to talk any about the journals where you're contributing or editor at, and what y'all are planning here in 2021?
Yeah. So Stirring has been around for I think 14 years. I was brought on in the summer, and I'm the nonfiction editor, and we put out 4 issues a year online, and it's this really good high quality poetry, art, nonfiction. The Minison Project is rather new. My friend is the founding editor of it, and it's about so it's this take on sonnets, but it's sort of like abstracting it, and so submissions have to be something that deals with the number 14. So like 14-letter poems or 14-word poems or something like that, and it's just playing off of that theme. So it's pretty interesting and unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds interesting for sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on here first to kick things off on the show tonight, and I'm going to step aside now and give you the stage and let you share some of your work with us.
All right, cool. So I have 6 I'm going to read. They're mostly pretty short. The first 3 open the book, but again, it's not told in chronological order, so chronologically it actually closes the book. That ambiguity is purposeful. I want people to kind of read into that what they want. And it's from the third person perspective. The last 3 are from Flara's perspective. And then if I'm under time, I have a new one I can throw in. All right.
Okay.
So September 14th, 2007, 6:34 a.m. Sunlight cool September. See the runners as they pass her. As she sits here in park cool green, They are young and strong. Mesh of gym shorts flutter behind knees, muscle and hair, straining and pushing, rubber soles into pavement. Bludgeon, bludgeon, bludgeon the pavement as they pass as she sits in the park. September 14th, 2007, 6:45 a.m. There is a lake behind her. Cool, wet, blue, gray, green, bits of white, reflection of sun, bouncing and shining. There are soft rolling waves that are not waves, not truly. There are ripples set in motion far away. The geese enjoy them. Their feathered heads jut and twist. Their smooth, wet beaks sing and holler as they pass as she sits. September 14th, 2007, 7:04 a.m. She is sitting in the park, china green chipwood bench, mossy soft ground good for walking. Elm, 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 arching over her as she sits. The leaves dance and rattle to the whispers of a hymnal wind. It tufts her hair, red ruby hair, dyed the color it was when she was young, when she was eager and strong, when she stood at the lake, out on the dock, where the high board used to stand, where the divers would climb the ladder and dive, before people left and the geese felt good making home, before it went from a lake you swim in to a lake you stare at, before now. Give me a second. I'm going to scroll to the next one. All right. Okay, so these three are from the perspective of Flora. September 4th, 2007, 2:12 p.m. Judy holds a photo of us, kids in their one-pieces, by the lake, summer, of course. Our talk rolls over like a dog with an itch. Everything starts to fray, never unravel, not yet. I thumb the condensation on my glass of water. I stare at the thin film of dust. Urzat's holy light reflects off the rim. Another silence. A cloud moves. More light. Flooding the faux oriental, the sunlight always depicted on stained glass. Yellow, beautiful, and oddly oppressive. As if the light were a burden to be held up by the backs it illuminates. I'm not even thirsty. I'm not even here. Want a beer? She asks as she goes to grab another. No, someone says. Maybe me. You were never any fun. And, sorry. All right. This is the longest one, and I think this kind of sums up the book the best because it really gets to what Flora is going through. August 15th, 2007, 10:12 p.m. Look at me. Look at me lying in the bathtub. I am old and withered, dried fruit, newspaper in the rain, sticking to sidewalk, slow and stretching and ugly white. I leave my glasses on so I may see my tired legs and the hair I am supposed to shave. For what purpose I do so, I've quit guessing. Short, rough bristles are scraped away, and I've learned to feel clean. The dripping from my arm as I pull the razor along my shin echoes off the tiles and the pipes. Tonight is an awful sound to me. It mimics a clock. The water is gray with soap and covers me nearly to my breast. No need to look into the mark-made wound by sun-bleached, young-bleached love. Look in the man that lies helpless and superfluous in both my life and his. In hospital bed white sheets, alone, thinking slowly and with the steady breathing of an invalid. Poor John, dear John, look at me. Look at me here with mark-made wound by love-drenched, God-drenched Margaret, who never lived, who never lived, who never lived. Look at me as I lay here in gray still water, fluorescent light made cold and white by the tiles and the paint. I am the weakest thing in this room. The water, with its contrails of soap swirling and jetting, runs through me. It is the bones of me. The bones of me are translucent and permeable. They are not there. It is the water that holds me erect. False edifice, nothing monument, floating in water. How will this reality not crumble me indefinitely? You had the stroke, but what have I had? I am as broken as you. I am as useless and lifeless as you. I am a tomb. Inside me are all the years. The 20 in my room, the 32 with you, the 29 in this house, in this tub, in this water, fluorescent light that drowns the room in cold, unwavering white. Tomorrow I will call Judy and tell her about you. It can wait till tomorrow. It must wait till tomorrow. The words would be impossible to speak tonight. This light has stolen them from me. This water has drained them from me, has rushed through my body and my bones, and took every syllable and letter. There somewhere beneath the gray. I dare not look, I dare not move. Horrid monument, I sit, groaning edifice of me. I am. Look at me, dear John, poor John, look at me. September 6, 2007, 5:07 p.m. Stoic as a martyr. Sit and stare at the television. Let the words wash over you, never hearing a single one. Who won the game? That's not what matters. It's the time they spend playing. That's what matters. What were you doing in the garage? Nothing. And it's true, and the person asking will ever understand. The waves lapping at his throat. Doesn't matter. I can still breathe fine. I wonder if I need that awful gift. But do I wish for it? Stoic as a martyr? Or do I prefer to let myself be swept away and destroyed by some beautiful wave? And then if you'd like, I can read a new one if I have the time.
Yeah, absolutely. You have time.
All right, cool. So this is actually, it's a poem, but it's an introduction to a novella I'm working on for my thesis called Bedlam. In the city, everybody works. People move, machines move, the train comes and goes, no one ever really on it. Never mind. The machines and steam make holy, holy music. It will fucking blind you. Beware. Sweat and muscle full of deadly life, yes. In the city, everything moves. Are you there at them? Are you who I can see? Are you within the movement, the moment? Are you the movement? Are you who I can see? I am a dot on a wall somewhere very far away. Please do not question me.
Very nice. You want to talk a little bit about that novella that you're working on and any other projects you have planned for 2021?
Yeah, this is the main one I have planned. It's a complete departure from everything I've done before. It's more surrealist and sort of avant-garde, and it's also more humorous. So I wanted to start working humor into my writing more because typically my writing's been pretty depressing, as you could tell from the first set of poems I read.
Well, certainly that's part of every artist and poet's life, so I think that we can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, good luck with the upcoming projects, and congratulations on the new book. Where can people find out more about your work?
I guess I get to search Ada Wolford. I'm on Twitter, and yeah, that's it, I guess. And then My Little Underground, of course.
Okay, right on. Hope everyone will go check that out. And we appreciate you coming on here and kicking things off tonight, Ada.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
All right, bye-bye.
Ada Wolford, reading from her new book. And coming up next, we're going to go to Edward Wells II on the other side of this break. And we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to Songs of Selah. We're here with authors from Alien Buddha Press tonight, and our next guest, Edward Wells II, is a writer from the United States of America. They hold an MFA in creative writing and a position as adjunct instructor of writing and literature. They are enamored of the possibility of connection in the cool air that descends into a desert with sunset. Their poetry manuscript, Beyond, is newly available through Alien Buddha Press, and their fiction, Triptych, is included in the recent anthology Octo Emanations, published by international authors. Edward, thanks so much for joining us here tonight. How are you?
I'm okay. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. How are you?
Doing well. How are things for you? Here's the new year kicks off.
Yeah, definitely to the new year. I think I heard some King Crimson. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting into a little of that here lately.
Okay. And the Court of the Crimson King. I had a copy of that record actually.
Oh,
years ago.
I just got into that too. That song Epitaph on there.
Yeah.
Such a great piece. So, your new book, Beyond, from Alien Buddha Press. Can you tell us a little bit about the themes that are in this collection and what draws you to poetry in general?
Sure. I guess the narrative of how this book developed is a bit of a meandering tale in itself. So I've read several different works by Roland Barthes, And one of those is A Lover's Discourse Fragments. And I was struck, of course, as the title or subtitle implies, there are fragments within the text. And one of the repeating fragments is a sort of introduction to each section. And I was struck at the time that I read it by the sort of poetic quality of those introductory fragments. And then sometime later, I was taking a course with the poet Douglas Kearney. He has actually a free, poetry workshop on Coursera. So I definitely encourage everybody to check that out if you have time. It's called Sharpened Visions, a poetry workshop. And in that, he had a poetry writing exercise, which is to find a piece of prose and then translate it into a poem. And so I decided that I would attempt that with the introductory fragments in the Roland Barthes A Lover's Discourse. And so then I was sitting with that for like years before I began to work on some additional pieces. And so what I was able to do was slowly creating pieces from multiple bodies of work, if we want to call it that. And the first of those are a series of erasure poems from some sort of standard poems that I wrote. And those erasures are plotted out in sort of a graph or a spreadsheet sort of mode. And so they give positions and also particular words that surface. And so I was able to use the positions of those words and then some of the letters to, in some ways, as a sort of cipher for the narrative poems that I'd constructed from the Lover's Discourse. And the result there was then works with the language from Barth's book, but also a sort of visual syntax from the erasures of my own poems. And so then I had the three bodies that were then later to comprise Meond. And so I guess if I were going to describe it, there's actually a brief sort of introductory quotation in the book that I'll read a little bit later. But in concept, it's sort of an exploration of communications between bodies, but in a way that is not necessarily a languaged mode. So I think poetry can do things like that. And in this instance, it seems to be successful. I really appreciate Alien Buddha Press going ahead and distributing this book. I've also had a lot of support from a number of other poets who have looked at it. And so that was nice as well. And I think for me, like whenever you find a project that stays with you for years, in this case, if it ever does reach a point of culmination, it seems like a sort of significant work or something that is suitable to share with others.
Absolutely, and congratulations on that fruition being reached. Was there a point after having this accumulating for all these years and thinking about it that you really had that flash and decided that it was time to really put the finishing touches on it?
Yeah, I suppose so. I was actually studying for my MFA, and my thesis is somewhat unrelated. It's a prose work, but there was a lot of interest in poetry, and our workshops were kind of novel in that poets and prose writers would be in the same workshop. So I was reading poetry of some of the other people in my cohort, and then also getting some feedback from some of the professors there in the faculty. And so I really felt like it was something that I would just go ahead and try and push through with. And after people started looking at the sort of finished product, it felt like something that I would definitely want to begin sending out to publishers to consider. And I bumped into someone. I'm not certain if you've heard of Mike Zone, but in my experience, he's an absolute sort of powerhouse in the sort of independent or small presses. And it was him that actually connected me with Alien Buddha Press. And he thought that it would be a good fit. And so, yeah, in this instance.
Yeah, very cool. Enjoy Mike's work for sure. Well, I'm going to turn things over to you now and let you hit us with some of your work from Beyond or whatever you have planned tonight.
Okay, great. There will be a little surprise at the end, but we're going to definitely listen to some Beyond. So just to kind of reiterate and introduce everyone, as I mentioned, the book is comprised of what I refer to as expressions from three bodies. And as these are expressions from distinct bodies, in the readings that I've given for this book, I've made the choice to use some computer-generated voices that are distinct rather than using my own voice for expressions from all three bodies. So I'm going to be playing some audio, and I think it'll come through fairly clearly. So let's go ahead and look at a piece from the first sort of book within the book, Expressions of the Body of Me. And the piece that we're going to be looking at is titled 23 to Be an Other Another.
"23 to be another and other. Outside night languid wanting her fingers. Wanting her fingers tickled to tremors red rims remembered, rims remembered, lids canyons, remembered lids canyons eyes. Inside 23 is us learned lineage, felt connection to hope, the hope of language passing, of language passing in and passing, language passing in and passing, among, passing in and passing, among and, passing, in and passing among and, passing and passing among and passing, be metabolized by another outside night.
All right. And now we're going to be going to a piece from the second book within the book. And this book is comprised of the expressions of the body of the lover. The title of this piece is One Knows Love, Want, Love, Whom, Heart, Finger, World, Heart, Finger.
One knows love, want, love, whom, heart, finger. World, heart, finger, the from the day. Tears, tip, ribbon, lusven. Ribbon, lusven, com, ebrietas. Intractable, the intractable, understand is unknowable, love, languor. Ultimately. Light, longer. Forget labor field, counter image to. Features capsize. There had the head of like. Hen of later poison. Order. Lamps parasite. Observe like P31 itself a. Perversion. Love paltry. Is adored. Prayers. A P33 impress amorous. Punish. an abstract, patient in a proper, adipose, precisely, NP37, anxiety, promised, am, proportions, amorous, passionate of to be mine be, me by amorous, of be, offering, not.
All right. And now I'm gonna just read the small sort of epigram that's at the beginning of the book before I play the next piece. Expression: a gene produces a protein, a body produces a word, the body expresses. Acquisition: the body retains expressions acquired in previous encounters. A chimera: it's Creole. So as I mentioned, the book is comprised of expressions of multiple bodies. And in the original draft, there was what was referred to as an interstitial space, a space between two bodies. And the idea there was that we would finally observe the sort of engagement or discourse between the two bodies. That section did not make it into the final draft, the published version, but as I've found it, as I've been reading from this or playing the readings from the book, I found that it's interesting to sort of inject this into the audio. And so this is actually going to be a performative version of the interstitial that is not included in the final book.
Go to humanity.
And inside another,
Man.
outside,
You.
night see languid I wanting got,
Languid humanity wanting inside her.
my fingers DNA tickled,
I fingers got tickled.
vanity too,
And tremors slandering. To inside tremors my red DNA rims can't read. You.
rims see remembered,
I'll lids twist rims with.
remembered you,
Lids its canyons inside remembered.
our lids,
DNA canyons.
I'm eyes unfolding inside and 23 refolding. Is every us motherfucking? Is day us it's learned? Another lineage way us to learn say lineage to. Felt you lineage I felt am connection becoming they. Me felt in connection that thee is hope from. The my hope DNA of man.
Language you hope.
See if I language got passing humanity of inside. Language my passing DNA and I have got language.
Vanity passing and in slandering. And inside passing my. Language.
DNA passing.
Can't in you.
And.
See passing.
I'll among twist passing within you.
And it's. Passing inside among our.
And DNA passing I'm in. Unfolding and in passing refolding among every and motherfucking. Passing day and it's passing another among way end. To passing say and to passing you and I. Passing am among becoming and me passing an end. That passing is and from out my to DNA. We can't metabolized. You by C metab.
Unfortunately, the audio often cuts off on that last one. But all of these pieces, they have a definite visual element on the page. So Alien Buddha Press has put together a spotlight on their WordPress page where you're able to go and look at some sample pages. So anyone that's interested in it, I definitely encourage you to do that because it's such a different experience when you're able to look at it while contemplating the poetry or the expressions. Scott, I'm not certain if we have time for one more.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I have prepared, or not really prepared. I have a piece that is not prepared. It's a piece that is rather new. It's not from the book. I was planning to read just maybe a couple of sections from it. It's similar in that it is what I refer to as a creative reading, which is something that I've sort of developed out of a book that I encountered titled Anti-Humboldt, which is a book by Hugo Garcia Manriquez. It is a reading of the North American Free Trade Agreement, which is basically it's a sort of erasure, but it's a particular type of palimpsest in that you're still able to see the original or source text that has been sort of erased. But he refers to that as just a reading of the NAFTA. So I refer to this as a creative reading. It's taking lines from multiple books and assembling them in this poem. It has an extended title that I'll begin now. The remarkable wild, an unknown continent, a term used to mean geographers were positive, imagination to run riot, writers depicted gems and jewels. That's the title. And then we move into the first section. It was late afternoon in March. From that moment on, a privileged passenger, passionately interested in botany and zoology. 2. Cut off from the outside world, an unusual man, official instructions to proceed southward, to make discovery, to describe the people, to cultivate friendship and alliance, to take a correct observation of the transit of Venus. The first voyage was a tunnel into the side of the hill 1/4 of a mile down the valley, busy unlocking the great rusty padlocks and swinging the huge door on its squealing hinges. Once he overheard, but thought they wanted him to overhear. He was positive he was dealing with spies more interested in fortifications than flowers. Thank you. That's all that I have, Scott.
Okay. Well, appreciate you coming on and sharing. Congratulations on the new book. Do you have any other projects in the works or anything planned here for 2021 you'd like to talk about?
Well, it's a little early to talk about anything. I do have a really small chapbook of poetry that I've sent out to a couple of presses. One of them, I won't mention the name at this point because it's only under consideration. There's nothing finalized. And then this poem that I've been working through. So yeah, a few different things. But yeah, hopefully it's just going to be a new year, if nothing else.
Right on. At least we've got that. And where can people find out more about your work?
Actually, I don't have a really great internet presence. I've got a Twitter feed, but I would have to look up the handle, to be honest. Let me see if I can look that up really quickly.
And we know for sure while you're doing that people can go to Amazon, where Alien Buddha Press books are.
Sorry about that.
On there.
Yeah, it's at MXEWANT.
All right.
And that's just my Twitter handle. But I want to thank everyone for putting this together. I think it's a great idea.
Appreciate it, yeah. Thanks to you and all the readers here tonight and Red as well. Always enjoy these shows.
Yeah. All right.
All right, well, take care, Edward. Appreciate it, and congratulations on everything.
Thanks, you too.
going to go to another music break now, and then we'll be back on the other side with tonight's third reader, Shannon Frost Greenstein.
Need a big God, big enough to hold your love. Need a big God, big enough to fill you up. Keep me up at night to my messages. You do not reply. You know I feel like you're the most, the best of the best and the worst of the worst. Well, you can never know the places that I go. I still like you the most. You'll always be my favorite ghost. You need a big God, big enough to hold your love. You need a big God, big enough to fill you up. Sometimes I think it's getting better, and then it gets much worse. Is it just part of the process? For Jesus Christ, it hurts. No, I know I should know better. Well, I can make this work. Is it just part of the process? Jesus Christ, it hurts. Need a big God, big enough to hold your love. Need a big God, big enough to fill you
Welcome back to Songs of Selah here on 17 Numa Radio. Got an Alien Buddha Press special here tonight. We've heard from Ada Wofford, Edward Wells II, and next up, Shannon Frost Greenstein is the author of Pray for Us Sinners, a collection of fiction from Alien Buddha Press, and More, a poetry collection by Wilde. She's a former PhD candidate in continental philosophy and a multi-time Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net nominee. Her work has appeared in McSweeney's Internet Tendency, Pithead Chapel, XRAY Litmag, and elsewhere. You can follow Shannon at shannonfrostgreenstein.com or on Twitter at shannonfrostgre. Happy New Year, Shannon. Thanks so much for joining the program here tonight. How are you?
Happy New Year. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Been a great show so far, and I'm sure that you're going to continue that along. Can you tell us a little bit about your talk a little bit about your work? How did you get into writing, and what led to the publication of your new book, Pray for Us Sinners, through Alien Buddha Press?
Well, it's a collection of fiction, and I started writing fiction when I left my PhD program for philosophy and was kind of floundering a bit and figured I'd put words down on paper. And then the first story I ever wrote and ever submitted actually got accepted and won a contest, and I was like, oh, that's what being a writer's like. And it's not. I was in for a bit of a rude awakening for years after that, but it has been just a lot of nose and grindstone and all that jazz, and I trudged along and got together enough stories for a kind of narrative collection that Alien Buddha was kind enough to publish.
And then you've also got the poetry collection out through Wild Pressed Books. Can you talk a little bit about how poetry works alongside your interest in philosophy?
It's an interesting question. I think it really has to do with the dynamic nature of language, how it's not this static thing. It is an entity that moves and conforms to the environment that it's in. And I think you can say that about any good poem, too, and prose work as well. But I think you see it more clearly with poetry. And a lot of it just has to do with the mastery of language and the ability to evoke things, whether it be academic or poetic or otherwise.
Well said. So what are you working on here at the beginning of 2021? What are your plans for the new year?
I have actually just completed a full-length ! Book of nonfiction, a memoir actually. So I'm trying to get an agent with it.
That sounds like a fun ride you're getting set up for. So good luck.
It's a Herculean task. I appreciate the luck.
Absolutely. So I'm going to step aside, give you the stage, and let you share some of your work with us here tonight.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be reading a single piece of fiction. It is called Trial by Combat. God had a black. Kelly knew she should feel proud of that. She had gotten in one good shot. She had made God real. But she was dizzy, and the air was burning in her lungs, and the acid was burning in her muscles, and she couldn't feel much of anything beyond the pain. Vaguely, in some corner of her consciousness, she heard the ding of a bell. Corners, barked the ref. Kelly trudged over to Will, who mopped up her blood and rubbed her shoulders and gave her sips of water to spit in a bucket like a sommelier. An ethereal white noise was competing with the sound of Will's frantic coaching, the chorus of infinite voices in harmony, drifting from behind the shimmering bars of the massive gate erected beyond the ring, locked tight. It was a cacophony of laughter and excitement and delight, and the barking of dogs whose owners have just come home. And a flash of light broke through the haze of Kelly's agony as she remembered what it felt like to be happy. She leaned back against the ropes and closed her eyes, feeling the rough fibers biting into the flesh of her shoulder blades. Kelly, what? She snapped without opening her eyes. Don't give up, Will demanded urgently. You're so close. I'm losing, Kelly said through gritted teeth. And then her mouthpiece was in place, and the chime of the bell echoed, and she stopped thinking as she pushed herself off the ropes to her feet. God came out swinging, and Kelly attempted to dance out of his reach. But she was tired, and he was strong, and she found herself on the floor with her ears ringing before she even felt the right hook. 1, she heard the referee begin. 2. Vaguely, she wondered if she was dying. She wondered, when the ref reached 10, if it would all be over at last. She wondered if she would finally know absolution. She wondered if Gideon had hurt this badly at the end. Kelly heard, above her own panting, above the lonely sound of blood rushing past her ears, the soothing exultations echoing from beyond the iridescent gate. They promised peace and sleep, and above all, a respite from her omnipresent grief. They promised to fill the gaping hole in her soul. 3. 4. Get up! Will's distant voice suddenly shattered the pleasant numbness drifting through her as she waited for the 10 count to end. Get up, Kelly! Still lying prone, Kelly turned her head to look at him, safe in her corner. She felt a sharp pang of resentment at his command, at his glowing good health, at even his unconditional support, because none of that was going to make her feel less broken. None of that would bring her baby back. 5. 6. You can do it. This is your chance. Bleary-eyed, Kelly struggled to align the multiple visions of Will currently dancing at the periphery of her vision. Chance? She knew there was something significant, some reason she was entered in this fight. But her head was throbbing, and the thread of this thought was dangling out of reach. He hurt you, Kelly. He didn't care. Will was shouting, and the referee was counting, and sound waves of pure joy were drifting from behind the glowing gates, and it was all too much to process at once. 7. And then, through the roiling din in which she was drowning, Kelly heard a tiny peal of laughter. She heard a single voice from tiny vocal cords from a stranger. It was a voice she should not have recognized because she had never before heard it flit through the air. He had died before he could take a breath. Gideon, she whispered. 8. 9. Get up, Kelly, and keep fighting. With Will's voice in her ears and Gideon's laughter in her heart, the fuel her empty body so desperately needed, Kelly struggled to her feet. She stood, swaying, while the ref looked at her pupils in dark clouds, heavy with tears, hung in the sky, and God presided over it all, a smug look on his all-knowing face. Do you want to continue? The referee questioned, and Kelly considered. She considered Will, still in her corner, always in her corner, sharing her grief. She considered Gideon on the other side of those lustrous bars, laughing. She considered God, always her motivation, always her moral compass, through youth group and divinity school and her work as a Lutheran pastor. She considered, and she made her decision, and she took a deep breath, and she spoke to the referee. I want to continue. The ref steadied her, took a step back, nodded at God. Kelly looked in his face and saw everything. The oceans and viruses and the Great Wall and seahorses and fire and her congregation and her infant son. With a second wind, she rushed at him with gloves raised. He was nimble and omnipotent, but she was mourning and filled with rage. This is for taking my son, she thought, jabbing God in the chest. This is for making me infertile afterwards. God was landing punches, too. Through her anger, Kelly could sense ribs breaking and flesh tearing and her nose bleeding again. With each of God's blows, tectonic plates shifted and tsunamis crashed and entire galaxies were born. But she stayed upright. This is for calling me to you and then abandoning me, she shouted silently in her mind, landing a mean left hook against God's chin. This is for leaving me in the dark. Kelly fought. She punched and weaved and fell and got up and punched again, pouring out her desperation, her pain, her resentment at being abandoned, and her fury at God for denying her any chance at motherhood. Seconds ticked by, but time had no meaning. Only Gideon's laughter had meaning all the way on the other side of the gate, and it meant that her crisis of faith was warranted. It meant her fury was justified. The bell again, and the match was suddenly over, and Kelly found herself slumped on the stool in her corner with no recollection of how she got there. She felt strangely empty or flat, like she'd lost a whole dimension. "What happened?" she asked Will dully. "It's a technical draw." A draw. Kelly knew she should have an opinion about that. She knew she should be elated or devastated or mildly annoyed or anything really except indifferent. But the only thing she wanted was to hear Gideon's voice again, and the harmony from beyond the gate had ceased. She heard only the heavy silence that is left in the wake of hope when it dashes by. Will was forcing water between her lips, and Kelly let it dribble absent-mindedly from her mouth and down her throat. She had no idea what was supposed to happen next. She had never felt so alone. "Fighters," invited the ref, standing in the center of the ring. He extended one arm to Kelly and one arm to God. They would share this victory and this loss. God smiled, and it was beautiful. Kelly could barely stand the beauty, like she could barely stand the joy when she read the pregnancy test all those months ago, like she could barely stand life without a child. Tears fell from her eyes, and she could not inhale for the briefest of moments. Feeling like she was moving underwater, she rose to her feet and met God in the center of the ring. She stared at his black eye, wishing she had done more damage. The ref gripped her wrist in one hand and God's in the other, raising them up, acknowledging each as both victor and loser. The match had been futile. Kelly had no more answers than she had had before. She sighed, defeated. Somehow, she had still lost. After a moment, God benevolently took back his hand, stepped around the referee, pivoted to face Kelly head-on. She stared in his eyes and lost herself. Then she lost everything else. God reached out slowly, as if she were a cat he didn't want to spook, and placed his palm upon the crown of her skull. "You are loved." She didn't hear the words in her ears, but rather in her capillaries, in her carotid artery and her toenails and the pulse of blood in her wrist. "You are exactly who you need to be." She felt warmth flow through her aching joints, a dopamine rush that soothed her overtaxed nervous system. Gideon appeared in her mind's eye as he had been in his sonogram, before he had been hers when he still belonged to God. "He was never yours," spoke her inner monologue, the predominant voice in Kelly's head ever since she lost her faith, the voice that urged her to sin and destruction, the voice that had replaced God. I am still here. You are forsaken," her inner monologue continued. "You are alone." Kelly clamped her hands over her ears to block out the competing forces echoing through her temporal lobe. She felt close to madness, or at least felt as overwhelmed as she had in the dark weeks after Gideon's funeral, when sunlight felt no different than starlight, and the bishop suggested she stand down from the pulpit for a while, and she surrendered the ability to love. "I have always been with you." All noise ceased, and the quiet became a sound of its own. God kissed her gently on the forehead. Then he walked away, unlacing his gloves and untaping his hands, pausing to wait as the opalescent gate swung outward, vanishing from sight as it closed behind him once again. The latch caught, and the echo of the lock rang out like a gunshot. Kelly flinched at the sound. "Kelly?" Her husband was calling her tentatively from beyond the ring, looking as if he feared her reaction. It was a look Will had been wearing often lately, as her hormones regulated and her postpartum depression increased, and she grew restless without a congregation to lead. She exhaled, exploring the new flatness inside her chest and stomach and fingertips, the new sense of being emptied. Kelly felt, deep within her fundamental self, the scars of her grief. They were ugly and permanent, and as much a part of her as Gideon had been as well. But she also felt grief's absence. The cavernous void now within her soul sang out, begging for sustenance like a hungry infant. Her intuition, numb all this time, awakened with a jolt. Her brain, sludgy with atrophy, tried to start spinning. Kelly gazed at Will measuringly, She walked slowly back into her corner, where he waited for her. "I'm okay," she answered, and it wasn't totally a lie. And that's the end. Thank you so much for having me on to read that.
Absolutely. Excellent story. Love the
Thank
concept
you.
behind it. A slugfest with God.
Haven't we all wanted one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Once in our lives?
Now and then. So, can you tell us where people can find out more about the book and your work in general?
Sure. I am at ShannonFrostGreenstein.com, and I'll spell that because it is my married name, and I still have to think about how to spell it after 16 years. It is Shannon Frost, GreenStein. I'm also on Twitter at ShannonFrostGree, first part of my name, and on Instagram at Zarathustra Speaks.
Oh, fantastic. Love the Nietzsche reference in there.
Oh, you should see the tattoo.
One of my favorite books.
Which one?
Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
Oh, one of my favorites as well, though I'm a beyond good and evil type of girl.
Right on. I've got to dive back into that here sometime soon.
The world kind of calls for it at the moment. We all need to find sources of life-affirming joy in the midst of the chaos.
Yeah, a lot of joy in Nietzsche, a little bit of existential angst as well.
Both, there's two sides to every coin, isn't there?
Absolutely. I think he brings them both.
Oh, well, I really appreciate both you and Alien Buddha. This was such a good time.
Absolutely. We enjoyed having you on, and congratulations on the book, and all the best here as the new year kicks off.
Thank you so much. Health and happiness. And vaccines.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. So let's go to another music break now, and then we'll come back on the other side with our final reader of the night, Jamelia Mosley.
I came into town with a knapsack on my shoulder and a pocket full of stories that I just had to tell. You know, I've knocked around a bit and I've had my share of small town glories. It's time to hit the city and that crazy carousel. I've been feeling sorry for myself, but you know I was only lonely like everybody else. Until you brought your Sunday morning sunshine here into my Monday morning rain. You taught me happiness just one time. It keeps on coming back again. These streets were never highways. I had not known the sky above. These days were never my days, for I had not known your love. It's funny how a city can put on a different face when it holds the one you care for. It becomes a different place, and I never felt so far from alone. Oh, baby, you brought me halfway home. Oh, baby, you brought me halfway home. You brought your Sunday morning sunshine here into
welcome back to Songs of Selah. We're continuing along with this special edition with authors from Alien Buddha Press. And closing things out here tonight is our next reading. Jamelia Mosley is a primary school teacher, poet, and spoken word artist. She loves all things poetry and spoken word and loves to see her work published all over the world. Jamelia's poem United was published in the Fly on the Wall magazine. Her other poems, Grandma and Granddad and Protest, were published this past September in Chambers Journal out of Scotland, England. Black, Dying to Bloom, and Visions of Possibilities were published in the Melbourne Culture Centre out of Australia. Her poem Yesterday will be published in Moorpork Press out of New Zealand. The Daily Drunk Mag and Saccharine Poetry have also recently published her work. Jamelia has more work forthcoming in other magazines and journals, and has recently had her chapbook Love, Joy, Tears, Beers, and Poetry published by Alien Buddha Press. Thank you so much for joining the program, Jamelia. How are you tonight?
Hello. Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me. I was panicking earlier on because I was having some technical difficulties, but I'm here, and I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. We appreciate you standing by and working through those struggles. Good to have you on. And I know that you're staying up late here tonight, being over there in the UK, so we appreciate that as well.
It is. It's 2:30 a.m. at the moment.
Okay. Are you a night owl by any chance, or is this a little past your bedtime?
I am a night owl. Us creatives, we're night owls, so it's absolutely fine. This is normal for me.
Good deal. So tell us a little bit about yourself over there in England and what draws you to art and writing.
Oh, I've been writing since forever. I've performed since a very young age, since I was a teenager, some 20-odd years ago. And I've recently started again after a long break, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And I've been so lucky enough to have my work be published by Alien Buddha Press. I'm lucky enough to be here tonight with you guys. So it's going well, and I hope 2021 it goes much the same.
Amen to that, and I second it. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about the themes and subjects that you're working with in your book, Love, Joy, Tears, Beers, and Poetry, and how you decided to bring that out into the world.
So it's very much influenced by life and what I see around me, what I feel, what I experience. And so some poems are about my life, some poems are about what I see on the news. So it's a mixture of a little bit of everything to do with life. And as the title says, we have tears, we have joy, we have love, and we have some beers too.
Bring it all to the party for sure.
That's right, that's right. So I'm going to share some of my work with you today. I think I'm going to read around 4 or 5 poems for you. And I'm going to start off with a poem called Yesterday. Excited voices, shuffling chairs, clattering footsteps through the halls, replacements of the blackboards, reminiscent of the lost years between the uniform and the grey hairs. Wrong and right turns, lifelong lessons learned, hopes, wishes and fears, countless love, laughter and tears, not to forget the people we loved and lost and met along the way. Feels like yesterday, I wish it was still today. The trees we climbed, the games we played, the friends we lost, the ones who stayed, the comfort of our mother's lap, the notion of it all never coming back. So I'm going to go ahead and read Grandma and Granddad. And this is about, obviously, my grandma and granddad who were very influential in my life. When I wrote this poem, my grandma was still here. And sadly, in the last few months, she sadly passed. So this poem means a lot to me. She hums as she cooks, apron suffocating her waist, like my scared embrace. For the family cat lost but I found. It sought refuge in a leftover box in the garden that I grew up in, along with the cabbage and the callaloo, raised up from the ground that we churned over, spade in your strong arms like the fears and the problems on your kind but elderly shoulder. Memories that do not fade, they do not resemble the day turning darker, nor the message you betrayed. Those who try shall prosper, nor the seeds you planted in the garden forever enchanted. My third poem. I close my eyes, rewind my mind to that time, the first time. Innocent and pure, it felt so good against my lips. Taste buds tickled, it dripped. A little bit of trickle. You seemed to grant every wish, every ideology. Not at once, but the feeling took control of me. Before I knew it, I was drunk. My first time, my first ever glass of wine. Sleep. I need you, but you don't come easily. For others, you are beautiful and free. To me, you are a rare but sweet luxury. I adore you. I wish I could explore more of you. Maybe in you see the future in the past. See faces that didn't last. Go to places that I have never been. See things I have never seen. Maybe it's just a dream. Hopefully, it's not just a dream. Protests. Protests, crowded, social distancing stressed. Policies and limitations stretched. People shouting from their chests. Statements written on their vests. They're vexed. Issues, racism, fascism, lawlessness. Issues complex. People of color wondering if they're next. We need to make a change. No one is better than the next man. Together we stand. And my other poem, Unite. Free from the shackles of lockdown. Protests. Murder seems grotesque. We shout from our chest. We can't breathe. They still suffocate. They cannot resuscitate. The world stares. We march. We unite. We sing. We dance. We talk. We write. And this is the final one that I'll read from this collection, and then I will treat you to something new that I wrote. I will never truly die. When they close my eyes and declare that I've officially died, know that you were all the best things that happened in my life. Through all the pain, the win, the losses, the glory, trouble and strife, you guys made it all right. The joy and the laughter, the sweat and the tears, the countless fears, but never a lonely night. Through the sad times, I was just fine. I'm so lucky that they made you all mine. Now my path is about to decline. When you are down, look out for my sign. I will be that twinkle in the sky. I will be that pretty bird, the reappearing colorful butterfly that you see fly. I will still be your strength when yours is shy. Know, my love, our love will never truly die. I will never truly die. So that's the last one from that collection that I will read today. And I'm going to read another one that I recently wrote, and it's called I Will Wear My Crown. In my loneliest days, in my darkest hour, dents in my structure will not hold me down. I will get up and dust myself off and wear my crown. In the airiness of the unknown, surrounded by the familiar smell of the ones I hold close to me, in the depths of my insecurity, of what comes before and after me, I will wear my crown. When my days are unkind and my nights are worse, I will think about all I have overcome and all that I have become and all that is yet to come. And until my days are done, I will wear my crown. And there we have it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your pieces from the collection and that new piece that you just read. And my condolences for the loss of your grandmother.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Nice that
thank
you're
you.
able to.
Sorry about the nerves there. The nerves got the better of me at moments. But thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Absolutely. And any final words you want to leave with the audience where they can find more about your work?
Yes, I have a few social media handles, but I use Twitter the most. So please do find me at Jamelia, that's Jem for mother, Elia, poet. So that's Jamelia Poet. And that's where you find me on Twitter. And all my latest news and all my latest work will go out there first. So please follow me and I'll follow back. And I'd like to say thank you so much to Alien Buddha Press as well. He's been amazing in supporting my journey in writing this book and helping me get it published. And thank you again, Scott, for having me today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. thank you for sharing with us and closing things out here tonight at the end of the show. We certainly appreciate it and wish you all the best here in 2021.
Thank you. It was a great show, and the same to you. All the best for 2021. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jamelia. All right, so that's going to wrap things up here. Another great show with Alien Buddha Press. It's always a fun time when authors from ABP come on, so I want to thank Red Fox for all he does with Alien Buddha Press. You can find them on Facebook or Twitter, and they also have a WordPress blog where they publish snippets from some of the new collections, so you can get a little taste of them. And, of course, all of these books that you've heard selections from here tonight are available on Amazon. So thanks, Red Fox, and thank you to all our guests, Ada Wofford, who read from her collection, I Remember Learning How to Dive, Edward Wells II, who read from Beyond, Shannon Frost Greenstein, who read a short story from Pray for Us Sinners, and we just heard from Jamelia Mosley from Love, Joy, Tears, Beers, and Poetry. So go check those books out on Amazon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. It's been a lot of fun. All the best in 2021. It's going to be a great year ahead. Until next time, Selah.